I'm Jack. I'm a first year and I study history and German. Had both a history interview and a German interview. The German interview went rather well. I thought was very similar to what I was expecting. How sort of 10 minutes before, 15 minutes before, we were faced with or presented with a short story in German, or a short little passage in German, which I think was a very short passage by Kafka in my case, and then would annotate that for about 10, 15 minutes and then go into the interview and discuss that, which I thought was very good, just as sort of testing thinking on the fly and getting out of preparation you might have done. It's a good indication that you can't just simply prepare and prepare and prepare with learning everything there is to know about your personal statement. So if you think about preparing for interview, then probably just finding or getting someone to give you these unseen passages and then commenting on them is quite helpful. Then we did discuss my personal statement a bit. The German book Der Vorleser, which I read at A-level, we discussed that, which I was very happy to do. I extremely enjoyed reading that at A-level, and then to be able to discuss that at interview as well and be challenged, perhaps more so than had occurred at A-level, with some new ideas or new interpretations, was just a real a pleasing and enticing hint of what was to come at university study. And then we just spoke in German for a bit about my trips to Germany in the past. They were mentioned, and other just basic sort of German language comprehension. Nothing too strenuous, I don't think. Yeah, I think when it comes to interview, just they're not trying to trick you. I know this is said quite a lot, but there's a tendency in the media for these news articles to crop up with these big headlines saying, look at this terribly difficult question that's been asked, or these books published of like Oxford interview questions which just seem ludicrously difficult. But no, it's nothing like that really. They just want you to do as well as you possibly can. They'll be discussing things that you yourself have mentioned, but at the same time they're trying to get you to think of new ideas. So I think don't over-prepare necessarily. I obviously do preparation, but it's more so I think about skills and how you're thinking in the moment than sort of memorising any deep analyses or practicing with just huge amounts of notes beforehand. Just practice the skills that will be tested in the interview rather than learning these reams of papers of notes. So when choosing the college, obviously there's a difficulty because when you're at the open day, it's sort of logistically not viable to look through every single college. So perhaps if you're thinking about that, then drawing up a sort of a list of colleges you want to visit beforehand might be helpful. If you have a quick look on the internet, just look at the Wikipedia page or the college website or something, and then just a very brief list of colleges you might want to look at. Then you go on the open day, make sure to look round. I think I'd say sort of don't take it at face value necessarily. It sounds a bit more shifty than it is, but just in the sense of, for example, if first year accommodation is on some site that isn't actually anywhere they're showing you on the day, then do take a note of that, just because you don't want to think you're going to be living in Old Courts or something, and then you end up 20 minutes out of town in some 60s accommodation block. For me personally, I didn't really have a plan like that when it came to the open day, so I sort of just wandered around town with my mum, not really knowing where anything was, and looked in some of the colleges that were around in the centre of town. But then when it came to making the actual decision, I didn't necessarily think that I'd seen enough of any particular college to make a very accurate choice. Real little things can be very helpful, like free laundry or something like that, or the JCR, as you may end up spending some time in sort of the communal areas provided by the college, looking at the accommodation when you go to the open days, rather than just, as I say, the main sort of facade of the college on King's Parade. Going around and looking at the rooms and just thinking to yourself, could I see myself living here for an extended period of time, I think is a good way of gauging that.